before I get ready to lay the hammer down here right now and prove to you all that I was 100% right about this last story that I put up about the Pentagon and them extorting money from these soldiers. And do you remember I told you that a contract between two or more individuals require certain things to be found inside the agreement to be considered a contract. Okay, a contract. One, there has to be, well, of course, no illegal, intent, no to skirt laws with crime. One, okay, but the main parts, the body of the contract, have to be one, a promise, or an offer. Like, I've offered this person, blah blah blah, so much amount of money. He's accepted, and he shall pay me the car once I hand him over the $50,000. Okay, that's basically one person has agreed to buy the car, the other person has agreed to sell the car. One, you have a promise to sell, and the other one, you have a consideration. The consideration is the money. Okay, those are the two main pieces of a contract that you need. Does anybody understand what the word promise means? Do you understand what that means? Okay, promise means that you have my word. You have my word. I promise to do something. Does that mean that someone just gave his word they were going to do something? Do you guys agree with that? Does everybody understand it? How about the people out there who you want to be pulled away from your mainstream media TV sets? How about you people out there who may be listening to this video right now? And for those who are listening to a video like this for the first time in their life right now, well, you can hear about this too yourself. I know this information was, days old, several days old, about a week and a half or so. But basically the stuff has been out there for quite a while before that. But here's the thing I'm saying, all right? I don't care about numbers so much. I don't. But when my wife comes to me and says, she said to me earlier this year, that when people started attacking people left and right mercilessly because they didn't like my opinion about the death of somebody. And she says, if you put as much effort into this family as you do the amount of videos you put out and all of the appearance, all of the stuff that I do, interacting with everybody, and why do you think all my video production went down for months? She was right. And people are questioning your integrity. The amount of effort and work that I put into not building my channel. If there's people that tell me, oh, you know what, you speak so slowly that, and I've been watching you 2 or 3 years. If you sped up and got to the point, you know what, you would already be past 150,000 subscribers by now. Dude, fuck, I don't care about how many people are here. I care about how many people are woken up, how many people share a video that I make. If I had 2 subscribers, yet every video I made had 10,000 or 20,000 and people coming to me, 10 or 1,000 shares and views, I would be like, cool. And people, do you know how creative a feeling it is to have people say that, hey, professor, it was your video. It was your video that I watched about this, that, I was a person who sat on my couch and watched this or that, and now I'm here. That's a great feeling. But it isn't a great feeling to know when your wife comes to you and says, now, you know what? Do something else. Do something else, because, you're going back to putting in effort to all your videos and try to help explain things to people so they can see them in other ways. And, you have 51,000 people and you have only 800 and it was actually less than this, but yeah, you have that many views. And what are you hoping to achieve? What are you just going to again, allow your family to slip away from you. And that, you know what I mean? It's one of those things that I know you guys out here you have nothing to do with that. You don't. But I just want, I'm just pouring it out there for you. All right. So I just have to try to, make her understand. I have slowed way down in as far as going on hangouts and just hanging out here or there, talking with people and doing it. Still is not going to change my ways. I still have, I'm still going to pour my heart and soul out right here, in videos, and hope that the way that I make a video is going to appeal to those people who are wanting, they're just ready to make that step away from the propaganda machine into the reality machine. And that's, I believe, my purpose of being here, to do that and to hear people tell me that you are the person and your video is what did it. And here is what I want to show you, right? So in this video, I stated that the recruiters are nothing more than a bank, a loan officer. Okay, watch. Just equate it. The loan officer is the mouthpiece for the bank. Yes, we will grant you the loan, or yes, we can give you a loan if your credit is if all checks out. And he doesn't have money of his own, the loan officer. Okay? And then you have the person asking for the loan. He is the intermediary in between the bank and the person requesting the loan. True or not true? Okay. The bank says we are in the business of making loans and savings and loan, right? Or a bank, whatever. So now, who is basically going to be entering into the contract for that loan? It's going to be the bank and the person asking for the loan. Once that person signs on the dotted line that they promise, that's the promise, everybody. In a contract, it takes two things: a promise and a consideration. The consideration can be anything from services to money, or even to refrain from doing something. It's usually the promise is the refrain from doing something. Like, let's say you promised, if you promise to quit smoking, you don't smoke anymore. You know what? I will buy you a house and you can stay in it. So you have a promise and a consideration. Promise is that they're going to quit smoking. The other person is the consideration is the house to stay in. Once one of them to break that, that the person, I've quit smoking. Where's my house? And a person says, well, I didn't think you were going to be able to do it. Well, I'm suing you. We had a verbal agreement. We had a verbal contract. That is a contract. Yes or no? Yes. A promise and a consideration are the two main parts of the body that make up the contract. So getting back to the whole bank example here, is that if a person is late on their payments or is in breach of contract of making their payments back to the bank, who is the one who collects from that person? Who is the one who's going to start the collection process? That's right, the bank. Not the loan officer, because all his job is to make the loan, is to check out all the person's background and everything, right? You get me? Okay. But it's the bank ultimately who's the one is on that, who is the other part of that contract body. Just like when soldiers had signed on the dotted line, they did not sign a contract between them and the recruiters. The recruiters are told, go get us people who want to stay in the military. Now, if the Pentagon would have said, hey, you know what? If they've been in for more than so many amount of years, then they do not qualify. Well, then, of course, it's on the recruiters. And, hold on, but it ultimately, since they are the one who put those stipulations in, the Pentagon, it is ultimately on them to make sure that the recruiters have stayed within the stipulations that they gave. Right? Do you guys understand? So it is ultimately on the Pentagon to make sure that they are not issuing out checks to individuals who do not qualify under the stipulations that they imposed. You guys get it? Okay. Do you know how, you want to know how what I'm telling you is the truth? Check out what Ashton Carter said right here. Okay. Pentagon now today says that they are halting efforts to claw back California National Guard bonuses. Amid a furor of criticism, the Pentagon announced on Wednesday that it will suspend efforts to force thousands of California National Guard soldiers to pay back enlistment bonuses and other incentives that were improperly given out during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Were they improperly given out? That's the question. All right. Now, some people may say that if the Pentagon did tell the recruiters, and the recruiters just ignored those stipulations that they put in there, and the Pentagon didn't do their duty to make sure that the recruiters had adhered to what they said, it still ultimately falls on the shoulders of the Pentagon, no matter what. Okay? No matter what. Here is what Ashton Carter says. Is everybody tuned in right here to this moment? I want you to listen. There is no more important responsibility, quoting Mr. Ashton Carter, for the Department of Defense than keeping faith with our people. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter said in a statement on Wednesday, that means treating them fairly and equitably. Does anybody know what the word equitably means? In the law of equity, it means a fairness. Everything has to be fair and balanced, right? Honoring their service and sacrifice, and what? What does he say right here? And keeping our word. What does the word promise mean? It means keeping your word. If you promise to do something and you don't keep that promise, you're breaking your word. Who gave their word, everybody? That's fucking right, the Pentagon. They broke their word when they started asking back money from these servicemen when they had promised that, A, if you provide those services, we promise to give you this. Okay? See, a promise and consideration can work both ways at both times. See, these soldiers had provided that service that the Pentagon was looking for when they entered into the contract and signed it on the dotted line and received the money, the bonuses, the consideration. And they promised to be there to fight the war and be in service. And they kept it. They fucking kept it. Now, when everything turns around and after that and years later they say, hey, you weren't supposed to have that money, but it doesn't matter that you provided service already. We're taking the money back. Well, wait a minute. They've already performed and lived up to their end, and that's why everything in a contract has to be written out in a specific way. That when you sign, did you sign your name right here? Yeah, you did. Well, you're screwed. You're screwed. Once the military handed over that money, that means that they had instituted their part. They started their part of the contract, and it began. Once the military service provided that service and it was all over, their fulfillment of the contract had ended. Their fulfillment had began when they started their service over again and re-enlisting. That begins it. That contract is now binding. Unless, of course, there's things in there before it happens that stipulate that if you do this, if you give us the money back, and and you say that you don't want to re-enlist, if those stipulations were in the body of the contract, of the agreement that you sign, then there's ways of getting out of a contract. But once there has been a fulfillment of one person's end of the contract, the other person is duty bound. No, they are obligated to fulfill their side of the contract. Okay? Just like those military were obligated to go and fight that war and be in service to the Pentagon because the Pentagon handed over the money. Whose responsibility, whose obligation was it for them to make sure that the person who was receiving that money was eligible to receive it? That's right, the person who's making out the check. Not the lawyer who is facilitating the contract between two individuals. No, he has no responsibility other than to draft up a contract that is binding between the two. Okay? Those recruiters have no duty other than to make sure that the person who is signing on the dotted line is willing to enter into the contract with the person who is the other party to the contract and willing to go into it. And that would be the Pentagon. Now, hey, the Pentagon didn't do their due diligence. They didn't do what they were needing to do to make sure that the recruiter stayed within the stipulations of their requirements. That's their fault. They fucked up. Not the recruiters, not anybody else, but the Pentagon. And they tell you right here, who did they give their word to when they paid that money? That's right, the soldiers. And when they requested that money back, that means they were breaking their word. They were breaking their promise, means they broke that contract. Mean that these soldiers who just lost a whole shitload of money and had to go into debt and who got their wages garnished and everything else, you just turned their life upside down, Pentagon, because you fucking went back on your word? I hope every fucking soldier, anybody who ever thinks about going into the military right now, besides the fact that you fuckheads up there in that Washington, D.C., and that Pentagon, you are out here fucking creating war. You tell everybody that that we're fighting for the freedoms of Americans? Tell me when the last time anybody came here to the United States looking to do us harm. No, I'm talking about as far as war. What, World War II? World War II, huh? So now, every time you spend a fucking dollar of America's money on defense, how come everything is being used to go on the offensive? Everything. You know what? Let me tell you something here, folks, everybody out here. I want you to take a look at every single stellar relief that you can see of, let's say, ancient Assyria or Babylonian tablet reliefs or whatever. And I know that the stories of war are written by the victors usually, for the most part. But the thing is that when people went out there to go to war, basically they only went on certain times a year because, they didn't go, you had to walk mostly, you know what I mean? Or whatever, chariot, whatever the hell it was. But when you went to war, it was to take from somebody or because they will not pay you the tribute that you demand because you have become a superpower. Every major civilization out there, Babylonian, Assyrian, Greek, the Roman, they went and made people bow down to their size, to their greatness. The United States becomes as big as they do. Do you think that it's about defense? There are countries out there that are fucking, have people out there that are happy just the size they are because no one's fucking with them. No one's out there to do them harm. And they're not. But the United States is put in harm's way because you have a fucking government that is being run by a bunch of fucking assholes in a corporation that demand more money. And we out here, the people are paying the ultimate price. Do you fucking get it? So you people out there who are still stuck in front of your TV and you can't fucking see the bigger picture, well, I hope that you do now. I hope you understand that the government just showed you, the Pentagon showed you, that they did make that promise. They did break their word. And they just fucking, they just, look what they did. They just broke soldiers right there. And you know what? The shame of it all is that there are people that are still not going to see all of this. And they are going to be ready and willing to go and provide that service when the government asks again. Why? Wait a minute. Well, you know what? Because we need to keep our superpower. so that we can go and impose our greatness onto other countries and make them bow down to us. That's what the United States has been really about. Vietnam, do you think that it was all about, the what they said, the communist domino effect? Do you remember that? Do you remember that it was France in the 1950s that was in Vietnam and got their ass kicked before we went in there? Do you really believe that it's about communism and the domino effect? Hey, Vietnam's been a country even after we left. Even after we left. Do you know how big of a slap in the face of American soldiers it was that they went over there? And I know there's a lot of bad things too for the American soldiers who basically had to pay the price for bad apples in the military. You remember My Lai? Does anybody remember? Anybody even old enough or even have the interest enough to know about Vietnam even if you're not old enough? How many people? How many people know about My Lai? How many people know that there were soldiers that were being pushed, that they were going to be shot themselves, that if they didn't participate in shooting innocent women and children that were laying down in a guttered ditch for no other reason than Viet Cong had came in there and forced them to, what did they do? They forced them, these people who didn't, they had no desire to be involved in all of this bullshit between the Viet Cong and the United States and South Vietnamese. They didn't. But guess what? Some of the American soldier bad apples didn't see it that way, or because they were bloodthirsty, whatever the case may be. But all I'm saying is that what the fuck were we over there fighting for? Why in the fuck did 50,000 or more soldiers lose their lives? For what? So that some guy who fucking called the shot about the Tonkin Gulf, we can do a false flag on our ship and get this war started. We can kick this shit off. When you hear people like, what's his name? Jesse Ventura. When you hear him, and I know some people, the dude's kind of, sometimes he's kind of a little out there. I understand that, the way he talks. Me too. But when he tells you that every war has been started by a false flag that he knows of, my research tells me the exact same thing. The reason why we hold so much land to the United States, Mexico was scared. And when that Mexican-American War, when you have a American soldier who was somehow shot and then drug over into a certain location, and then that's all that it needed to spark a war so that the United States could get their hands on more and more land. More and more land. That's all that it's about with these people is more, and we need more, and we need to take more. And you know what? Hey, we need more petrodollars. We need this. We need that. When is it that we are just going to sit back and not care about how much money that we have, or how much land that we own, or how many military bases that we have all dotted across this globe, because we need to have strategic positions like Egypt did with their garrisons back in the ancient days? We need to keep ourselves strategically positioned. You know what, for all you people out there that say that, may God bless the USA, there are countries out there dating back from ancient times that didn't even worship the same God that we have been led to believe in this Bible. And they still are in existence today. I'm talking about, you know what the oldest country in this known existence is? Anybody know? The city, the city, the longest living city on this earth, Damascus, Syria. Syria has been in existence for a long freaking time. And, well, Syria, if you really look at it, according to the Bible, they are relatives of the Jews. As a matter of fact, I do believe, wasn't it what's his name? Jacob, who went over there after he cheated his brother out of his birthright and went to Laban, his uncle, and acquired, well, got cheated. That's what he claims. Leah and Rebecca, or whatever. You know who I'm talking about. Whatever. And they're relatives. They're relatives, right? Isn't that what it's supposed to be? And I know a lot of people who are listening to this are going, well, the Jews that are there now, they're not really the Jews. Oh, okay, fine. That's fine. That's fine. But thinking about it, if they were, okay, we say they're not, but they claim to be, and Syria saying they're Jews. So anyway, I'm just saying that would technically make them relatives if they actually believed in the bullshit they were shoveling, right? You get it? So all I'm saying is, folks, is that, Syria, again, being one of the longest in existence, still is in existence today. It's existed not because of the size of its military. It's existed not because of its cunningness in going out and cheating everybody in the world to be, filthy rich. No. There's other countries in this world that have been here for a very long time. And if this world keeps existing for another 1,000, 2,000 years, they will still be in existence. But the United States, the way that it conducts itself here on this globe, all it would take is for 4 countries to come together, and we would be paying the ultimate price for not doing what we're supposed to be doing right now. And that's to be putting an end to the tyrannical government that is out there imposing their will of the America's money. Okay, the only way that they are able to go out there and do what they're doing with these corporations that are running everything, see, they manipulate the people. They manipulate with propaganda the people that are out here in keeping them in business. Oh, 9/11. Oh, you know what? There's a war on terror. We need to do this. American people, we need you to come together. We need your money. We need to raise taxes. We need to do this because we need to do that. And then they create this, $58 billion needs to go into defense. Now, we're talking a lot more now, right? But I'm just saying, for defense, really? Every fucking weapon that you make has been to go on the offensive. Your Predator drones, does it sit here and circle the United States and protect our borders from people coming into the United States? No, it doesn't. That's not defense. When you use them to go and start fucking blowing up people, and especially kids and innocent people in a building, in a hospital, you have went on the offense, and you're going to ultimately make the American people pay for your bullshit. And once the American people starts fucking waking up to everything that's going on around them, see, I've been awake. I know what the fucking business is. And to me, although I don't care about numbers, I have to sit there and honor my wife's question. What are you getting out of all this? It's not doing any good anymore. It's not. And hey, I still love doing what I'm doing. Still going to keep doing what I do. And I'm still going to be one of the people out here who's going to keep doing what I'm doing and still be here with you guys interacting. And just, hey, what can I say? But hopefully that helped. Oh, I almost forgot. I missed out on a point. When I hear people tell me about, God, we're talking about, God bless the USA. And I stated that there were countries out that are still in existence today. Babylon, Iraq, okay? I know we know what the word Babylon is a really bad something to say around here, but these countries that have been in existence, okay, some of them not in the same way that they have been, but Egypt. Take Egypt, for instance. Egypt, what did they worship? Well, they worshipped, all these Egyptian gods and blah, blah, blah. And guess what? They still have their artifacts sitting there. They're still in existence. And was Egypt a superpower way back in the day? Would they do their thing? They may have been a superpower, and they may have had garrisons posted all around to protect their interest, and they may have went to war to battle to subjugate other countries around them. But they're nowhere near what they used to be, and they're not doing that anymore, right? So does the U.S., the United States, do they learn a lesson from other countries that have tried to do the exact same thing that they're doing now? Imposing their will on other countries around until finally, guess what? Countries band together and do away with your quest for global domination. Now, there are forces at work out there that know the business. They know that you can't do it that way. But they are the ones directing, guess what? They're the ones directing countries because they have them in control, or they control them, and they don't care about the American people. They don't care about your existence. They don't care. As long as they are pulling the strings, and they are making money for them by countries doing exactly what the United States is doing now. Well, once the United States falls to its knees, they go on to the next country. And they build them up. And they get them to do the exact same thing until it happens again and again and again. Do you guys get it? The only people who can put an end to that kind of revolving cycle are the people who are going to be dropped to their knees. That's us. Do you even fucking care about that? Do you need a fucking play-by-play football playbook to show you exactly how the play is going to go? You cannot continue to keep treating countries as you do and extracting their wealth from them and making the filthy rich rich, and then other countries not, you know what? Hey, they are being built up to be the next. You talk about Russia, for instance, 1990s, right? And it was like Gorbachev and all that, and the Russia fell. Okay, basically. And now they're back again. Is somebody helping them build them up? We're talking about 20 years' time. Remember, same thing happened with Germany. Remember World War I and the Treaty of Versailles? What were they told not to do? What was in the treaty? And look what happened in a short period of time. You went in a short period of time for them being a country devastated to being built back up again to them being a war machine. A war machine. So just think about this for one moment. When you look at the United States and you're paying all of that money for your defense and all of those weapons that are being made by these corporations that are running this country, they're using these weapons to go on the offense, right? You think that 9/11 was orchestrated by Saudi Arabia, really? And for what purpose? What, to get them, the United States to stop meddling in, the Middle East? Is that what you think? Well, let me tell you something. These cunning bastards have ways of making people have a mindset. This is how they go to manipulate your mind and molding you into what they need you to think. The soldiers that sacrificed their lives in Afghanistan and Iraq, do you guys remember after 9/11 happened? And I mean, you saw people, the American people out there were driving around in their vehicles for a first good while, and you were hard-pressed to find a car that didn't have an American flag flying off of it. Am I right or wrong? There are people who sit there and analyze these things for what they are. That what they need to do to make a person's mind feel a certain way. And that's exactly what was needed for them to start doing the things that they wanted to do and have the American people on board with it. You have a Department of Homeland Security now. If you only see what they're up to, you would see that, again, the American people are soon going to find themselves on their knees. We are going to be the ones. Just because we got all the guns and, Japan said, hey, you know what? Fuck if we're going to go into the fucking United States. Are you crazy? Man, there's an American behind every blade of grass with a gun. They were smart. But these people right here who are really pulling the strings, they're much fucking smarter. They're much more cunning. And they are very, very methodical and very patient with how they go about what they're doing. And if they know that a certain thing is not going to work a certain way, well, then they will take their time and they, you know what, you folks out here, I'm just telling you, it's been, there's plans that are unfolding right now that have been in the works for, years, and we're talking years, and you could just see it. You could see it unfolding all around us. And the United States, no, not the United States. Do you think that they really care about the United States and how big it is? Not the people who are pulling the strings. Not the corporations that now have their hands in so many governments all around the globe, right? All of these shadow government corporations. How many of them are running business in other countries? How many of them are propping up other countries and, can build up another? Once the United States really falls, and the American public are the ones who are going to be paying the ultimate price for what they're doing, hey, que sera for them. And what about us? What about your children? What about your grandchildren? Do you think they give 2 squirts of urine for what happens to your kids or your grandkids? Fuck, they could care less about your children that go and sacrifice in a war for the corporate war, the globalist war. They don't. They could care less. All they know is that's more dollar signs, even if it means the death of your son or your daughter. It's dollar signs. They weep not for your children who die and sacrifice, where they're telling you that they did it in defense of this country. Fucking bullshit. Bull fucking shit. Has there ever been a war that has happened for the defense of this country? When Europeans came into this country, when there was fuck it, if I'm going to go on this long, I might as well just keep going. Does everybody know how the Europeans conducted themselves way back in the day? Does anybody know? Does anybody know the rules of power that they instituted amongst themselves? Spain, Portugal, France, England. When you went out there and were discovering the new world or discovering the world, it was all about, if you put your flag in a fucking certain spot, then you had all of that location right there, all up and down the river. You put it right there at the river, and the river all the way up, that was yours. That was yours. That's how they conducted themselves. How do you think that the French purchase, the U.S. when they purchased from France, Louisiana, all the way up that location right there? How do you think that was? How do you think that France owned it? How do you think that Spain owned the whole location of, Georgia and Florida and all that area? Why do you think Louisiana still uses a French constitution? Why do you think that Florida had a Spanish constitution? Does everybody know? Okay. Well, I'm just telling you. These are the type of things that, and I don't know why. I don't know why I told you. But anyway, you had American presidents. You had American presidents who acquired these pieces of land from these countries, France and Spain. Does anybody know how they did it with the Seminole Indians of Florida? Seminole Indians were living here peacefully. They eradicated them out of Florida because they wanted them out, because America just had to have them out of there. Stonewall Jackson, I got to get him out of there. Ruthless freaking, it's amazing to me how many people don't know the history of this country. They don't. They could care less about anything but about their daily lives. And some people just care about what is going on around them right now. And it's great. You know what? It's a good thing to know what's going on around you right now, the reality around you. But to know how you got there and the reason why you have to either change your ways or you have to, or you know what I mean? Sometimes you just have to know that how you got to a certain position, that you have to do something about it, or else you're going to be paying the ultimate price. You, me, all of these people out here. Yes, they did mistreat the Indians. Yes, they did bring over, especially when you had other countries that were trying to put an end to the slavery trade. You had other people that just, couldn't handle, not making money. Cotton picking and all that other stuff, tobacco plants and blah, blah, blah. If you really think about it, I mean, hey, yes, I do agree that there was some bullshit going on to make profits, that people were being used in slavery for the profits of others. Understand, folks, that to some of these people who are not some to the people who are in a position of power, it's all about the money. Get it? It's all about the money. Now, here's the bad problem. Here's the other problem with all of this. When you see all this Black Lives Matter, and you say, it's a propaganda this, propaganda that. And I know this is not going to be a popular viewpoint here. I don't agree with how blacks are targeting whites if a cop gets shot. If a cop shoots a black person on the street. I don't agree with them attacking whites. Everybody should be held accountable for their own sins. Right? Do you guys understand that? What that means? And if an individual is a racist, or if he has no concern about a person of another race but doesn't really make him racist, should that mean that blacks should go out and feel that they need to go after all people of that same race? So then I say, well, wait a minute. Should I go after all blacks because this one particular black guy beat up an old white black lady, or an old white man, or an old white woman? Do I feel an obligation to go and target blacks because they are treating our elderly like that? Do you see what I'm saying? Of course not. What I'm saying is, what is my point? I know I must have a point in there somewhere, right? My point is that they're no matter if they are standing up and doing something about this, you say that, fuck, they're over there shooting their own in their own neighborhood anyway, so fucking why do they care? Let me tell you something. Hey, I may have a kid, I may have a child, and you're not going to understand this, but I may have a child who needs to be scolded, or I may beat his ass because he just ain't learning, or spank him. Back in the day, spankings were, it's the only way you could get through to it. You know what I mean? To me, I got spanked. You guys got spanked. All that stuff, right? And you would do it. It happens, But damned if you're going to let somebody else come into your house and hit your kid, right? It's not going to happen, right? You're going to do everything, and I know it's going to be hard for you guys to even to make that example connect with each other. But in some people's mind, that when they live in a community or a neighborhood, and whatever goes on in their neighborhood, that's their business. That's their business, how they conduct themselves with each other. Just like you spanking your son. And you're not going to let somebody else come in there and do your child like even you do. Lay your hand on your child. Oh, no one lays their hand on my child but me. Okay? Is it going to be hard for you to understand how they think? Is it going to be hard for you to understand that, hey, you know what? we may be in here firing on each other, but hell, if we're going to let somebody else, an outsider, come and start doing our people like that. Is that too hard for you to understand that? I mean, I try to put myself in a position. I try to, in my mind, envision how other people think. Okay, that's how you have to view everything around you. If you don't, you're only seeing it from one direction. That's not a very secure and safe way to live, is it? It's not going to help you see everything that you need to see, is it? Oh, of course not. That's why some people can see things like we do in this community that other people can't. 1 Adam 12, remember that? Do you remember how it used to be in the old TV shows? Police departments were carrying around, little, a 38? Look what this place has become in a short order of time, and whether it was brought on by a couple of individuals in Los Angeles bank robbery that were fully armored out and were walking around with AK-47s or whatever they had. Well, guess what, folks? Now you have military police departments running around, and look how they're going. There's just one in Detroit not too long ago, just a few days back. I saw it. I didn't report on it. I could have. Me and the wife were talking. I didn't even feel it. But you had military-style police, and look how they raided one house. One house. Looked like a motherfucking war zone where a whole police force, or they said it was the Department of Homeland Security. Isn't that what they said it was? Department of Homeland Security went and fucking, boy, they tore that neighborhood up, didn't they? They went and scared those people half to death. But guess what? When you have a people living in fear, then is when you are going to get them. You're going to subjugate them the way that you want, and they do. They're subjugating their people with fear. They didn't have that back in. You didn't have people like that back in ancient times, when you had people going out there with the battering rams and they laid siege to another country's city walls or whatever, because the city was the size of the country. Hey, now you got countries the size of fucking pieces of the globe, right? But back then you didn't have that, and the most that you had was you had a ruler that said, you know what? You people right here, you guys want to be the biggest and the baddest in the world? Well, we're going to go out there and we're going to make this place pay tribute. We're going to do this. And they were paying tribute until finally they said, you know what, screw you. And then they would lay siege to another town. They didn't. What scare tactics were they using on their own people? What scare tactics? It was the people that made up the military. It was the people. The whole thing about the whole thing about fucking what's the word I'm looking for? Hold on one second. Yeah, I'm just going to leave you with this last little bit. This is going up on my backup channel here. Anyway, I don't care. The feudal system. Does anybody even realize the system that we're living under right now and has been in existence for a very long time? Kings went in there with nobles and other warriors and took and plundered land. And then when they acquired that land, it belonged to the crown. It belonged to the king. And he would give out these pieces of land to his nobles, his warriors. And then his nobles would give it out to these, the groundskeeper, the serfs. And, that's where you have all of this whole thing that you see with, that's exactly the existence we live in now. But you guys don't see it. You don't see that the state here in the United States, who's the sovereign? Who is? Is it the king? Is it you? See, because what they've done is they converted every state into a sovereign state. Okay? They're the sovereign. You're the fucking serfs. We are the fucking serfs out here who you think you own your piece, your home. You think you own your land. Yet, go ahead and stop paying to the king. Stop paying to the crown. And they're going to take your property. Because why? Because it doesn't belong to you. See, the way they used to do it in the feudal times is that, well, you farmed it. You gave part of that to the noble. And then he paid for the land that he got from the king. Right? The land doesn't belong to anybody but the king, the crown. And the nobleman has to fight the wars for the king in exchange for him being on that land. And he controls most of that land. That is your state. The United States is the crown. They own it all. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? We're talking about the corporate USA. We're talking about the crown here. And we are a bunch of serfs that sit there and go and do our labor every day with this bullcrap fiat money. And we sit there and we go buy and we purchase this and make it all of our fucking, not to get off the beaten track, but what do? What do people do? That's right. They buy things that massage their mind back into stupidity. And, with this electronic gadget or this electronic gizmo or whatever. See, you ask me, I don't even know how to fucking work a cell phone. I don't even use them. Don't even really use them. Don't even know how to use it. And these people, they sit there and, boy, you got a 10-year-old who can sit there and fucking whiz his way around a remote control. And you're trying to figure out, you're 50 years old and you're trying to figure out how the fucking thing works. Or a cell phone or a tablet. And you know what? What does that say about the mindset of people today who demand everything for... It's all about time, folks. Time is the one thing that we're short of. And we're always looking for ways to cut out time to save time. Right? And we always need that new thing to... The remote control for the TV. Oh, you know what? I can't stand being around a stove that's going to take me 45 minutes to an hour to cook my turkey pot pie or whatever, when they can just stick it in the microwave and boom, you're right there to be in front of the TV to have your mind massaged for you again and again and again. It's a shame. It really is. But anyway, the fact is that we are still living in that feudal system. And hey, it's just a little bit. They're making you believe that you own it. At least in the feudal system, the real feudal system, there was no doubts in your mind who owned the land. The king, he owned it all. The only thing is they become more cunning, and you don't know who owns the land. When you go purchase a car with your money, right? That's right, your paper currency. Ask yourself this question. If you can answer it, okay, if you can answer it, then you can tell me that I'm out of my mind. If I go to a brand new car dealership and I've been saving my money from working for whatever, and I don't put it in the bank, and I take that money in there to go buy that new $40,000 fucking Ford GT that just whoops ass fucking all up and down the street, and I tell them, I'm paying cash. I want my pink slip and I want it now. I can't do that. The pink slip has to be submitted, or the paper, that title to that car, you just paid with your money. That fucking title doesn't belong to anybody but you, pal. Nobody but you. That's your money, right? Go try to go do that at a car dealership and they're going to tell you, no way, Jose. That title has to go to the state first, and then the state sends you a copy of that title. That's not a low deal title. You only have a copy. Why don't you have the real title? You are the fucking king. Why don't you fucking get the title and you give them a copy and tell them you hold a copy, punk? No, they're going to tell you that that's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. I mean, who the fuck are you? I'm the fucking sovereign on this fucking land. Not you. You don't tell me how I'm supposed to fucking live my life. You're telling me that I just paid all my money with my labor that I've worked for, and you're going to get the title and I'm going to get the copy? You answer me how that works. You answer me how if you fail to put those tags on your car, or you fail to put those plates on your car like they demand. Listen, son, you're using their money to give back and buy what's going to ultimately belong to them, no matter how you look at it. All you're doing is, guess what, keeping the system going, and you are paying a user fee every year when you pay those, car taxes, when you pay those, licenses and and license tax, all that stuff, license fees for your car. They're making money off you again and again and again and again until, guess what? Until finally the system collapses. Until you have a government that has went and really fucked it up for the people. No, government? No, the people pulling the strings because they don't care about you. They don't care about you or me. Still living in a feudal system. We're still getting fucked. We still got people out there who are manipulating the masses with and then treating them like shit. You're military personnel, right? So anyway, guess what? I just spent a whole gang of time on a video that I'm going to put up on a backup channel. That's not going to get any views. But you know what? I expressed exactly how I felt. And now I'm going to go make a video and shorten it up a little bit. How's that? Thanks, everybody. Oh, yeah, one last thing. I know I didn't make my point. One point I didn't make. Talking about BLM, talking about the Black Lives Matter and all of that stuff. Do I blame them for standing up and doing something about something? No, absolutely not. It's because I know that all the American people, and I'm talking about Native American Indians, I'm talking about blacks, I'm talking about whites, I'm talking about whoever finds themselves here in the United States who actually cares about their existence. See, there are people that are being put into this country, well, all they want to do is eradicate and to demolish a country. And it's going to be another one of those cycles that, well, once we're destroyed and we're subjugated and all that other stuff, and hey, we may still be in existence. You're still going to have grandkids and kids that, what, they're going to be somebody else's serf. We're already serfs, so it doesn't really matter. We're already that. But you don't want your child or your grandchild to be left in the street like as if they're some Christian. And I say this. I mean, I don't mean to single that out. I'm just giving you an example. Do you know how easy it was for the Turks back in the early 1900s when they were killing Christians? Putting girls, young Christian girls, on crosses naked and killing them, and then you had the Japanese that went in there and to Nanking and other locations and started. I'm not talking about just bayonet practice. I'm talking about hanging them there and filleting the skin off of them while they were still alive. There are things about the way people are treated in a for no reason other than to see the pain and misery on somebody's face, and they don't care about human existence whatsoever. Do you want to find yourself in a position like that, to wonder if there's going to be somebody who's going to treat you and look at you as if your existence does not matter to them? And maybe they will torture your child or your grandchild right in front of your face. And you go, my God, I can't even do anything. I can't do anything. Well, I know that I don't ever want to think about that. I would rather do something now than to ever have to see that happen to anyone with my own eyes or to have it see it done to my family. Will that ever happen to us? I don't know. But